Hello everyone, welcome to online classes on building structures 4. In today's session we are going to learn about steel columns. So let us start with a definition of a column. Column is a vertical structural member because it carries a structural load. It carries a structural load along its longitudinal axis. Suppose this is the column, this is the width, this is the depth, and this is the length. The load which is applied on the column, that is a structural load, is passing along the longitudinal or the axis which is passing through the length, longitudinal axis of the column. So if I take this as a column, then this YY axis is the longitudinal axis, XX axis, ZZ axis are the lateral axis. So here structural load passes along the longitudinal axis and transmit the same to the foundations. Or a column is a vertical compression member whose length exceeds 3 times its least lateral dimension. It is a vertical compressive member or a compression member because if I apply a imposed load on this phase of the column, that is at the top of the column, then to resist this load there will be a opposite reaction created by a foundation, and these two forces, that is the load applied and the reaction created, together make a compressive, together try to compress this column, and hence this member is called as a compression member. And it is a member where length exceeds 3 times its least lateral dimension, in the sense length L is more than 3 times of width or 3 times of depth. This is a typical assembly of a framed structure where a foundation is connected to the column and beams are connected to the beam and slabs are resting on a column. You may come across or you may get confused with a strut and a pedestal. Strut is similar to column, but only thing is that it is an inclined member or a horizontal member rather than a vertical member, and both ends of the strut are either pinned or hinged. These are usually used in roof trusses. And another element is a pedestal. This is also similar to column. It is also a vertical member where it is a compressive member. It carries a structural load, but the only difference is here length is less than 3 times of width or 3 times of depth. This is the only difference between column and a pedestal. So some of the definitions related to column are: one is a buckling of a column. Buckling is nothing but a deflection or a deformation of a column in a lateral direction because of, as a result of, a compressive force. Whenever a column buckles, it will have 2 points of contraflexure where a buckling or a deformation starts, and the length between these 2 points of contraflexure is called as effective length of the column, and the original length is called as actual length of the column. Then another definition is buckling load. A maximum load a column can resist before it undergoes a buckling is called as a buckling load. Once the column start buckling, the load which is applied to buckle the column is called as a buckling load. Now let us study about classification of a columns. Classification of columns are based on different criteria. First one will study about the slenderness ratio, based on slenderness ratio. Slenderness ratio is nothing but a ratio of effective length of the column to the least radius of gyration, LE divided by K minimum. Least radius of gyration I can obtain it by root of minimum moment of inertia over cross-sectional area. Or I can also define slenderness ratio as a ratio of effective length of the column to the least lateral dimension. Lateral dimension in the sense B or D, whichever is the least, that value I will be taking. So based on this, columns are divided into two types. One is long columns and another is short columns. Long columns are the columns where slenderness ratio is greater than 12 and such columns fail by buckling. Short columns are the one where slenderness ratio is less than or equal to 12 and such columns fail by crushing. Another type of a classification is based on the loading condition. First one, axially loaded column or concentrically loaded column, where the load on the column is acting exactly at the center of the column, that is exactly at the origin of all three axes. So if a load is acting exactly at point O, then I can say it as a concentrically loaded or axially loaded column. Another case is eccentrically loaded, where the load will not be acting exactly at point O. Instead, it will have certain offset. If it has a single offset, that is, if it has only one offset from point O, then it is called as axially loaded column with uniaxial bending, because when it has an offset along one of the axes, then there will be a load, and along with that load there will be a movement along one of the axes. Therefore, we call it as axially loaded column with uniaxial movement. If the applied load has an offset along both the directions, that is along x direction as well as along z direction, then there will be two types of movements created, one along x direction and one along z direction. Hence, this type of column we call it as axially loaded column with a biaxial bending. These all things you have studied in your second semester of building structures. Just to recall it or revise it, I have quickly gone through it. So let us start with our particular subject, which is about steel structures or steel columns. In general, for any compression member, we may use all these types of a steel section, where it is solid circular, solid rectangular, hollow circular, angle section, double angle section, I section with plate, built up I sections with plate, built up channel sections with plate, double channel section, built up channel sections with plate, double channel sections with plate. So these are all types of the sections which can be used as a compression members, or in general compression members, not exactly as a column, but in general compression members we can use all these types of members. So as a compressive strength decreases with increase in the slenderness ratio, a section for a compression member should be such that it has a maximum moment of inertia for the same sectional area. So we choose such a section which has a maximum I value but least A value as much as possible. Some of the sections are all these. So let us go one by one. Solid circular section, that is this one. This section, whenever a compression member is free to buckle, but there is free to buckle, we can go for this type of a section, but these are not as efficient as other sections. Hence, we choose this type for a very lightweight sections. Second one is a rectangular or a tubular section. These are hollow sections. Hollow sections comparatively better than the solid circular section. Square or rectangular hollow sections are much more easier than the solid rectangular or solid circular section, and these are easy to fabricate, and hence these are very preferable wherever these are preferable over a I section or a C section if loads are lighter. Angle sections can be, single angle can be used for a lighter truss members. Double angles we can go it for chord members like a top chord, bottom chord, or a principal rafters. Then I sections are the most widely used range, and if I sections are not efficient enough, we can stiffen this I section, or we can increase the strength of I section by providing a flange plates, additional flange plates, or we can also go for I sections which are made up of 3 solid rectangular or a plate sections. And these 6 types are the additional type of a built up section. So whenever the rolled section or universal sections which are readily available in the steel table are not efficient enough to carry the higher loads, then we go for a built up sections which will have enhanced strength and durability. So these are the few of the built up sections. Another provision is we can go for a laced or a battened column. Laced or a battened column is nothing but providing a lacing which is similar to that of a bracing, and battens are also a similar type. Here these are usually used for connecting a built up sections. Most of commonly adopted lacing systems are as shown in the next figure, and the simplest one consists of a lacing with a single bar connecting the two components. This is the simplest type of a lacing system. You can see a double lacing system, double lacing with these are few of the built up columns with the lacing system. You can also see a isometric view of a built up columns. Here this is a double angle column section. You can see double channel column section. These are the two channels which are butt jointed in the sense face to face jointed, and for joining these two columns I am providing a tie plate, which is nothing but a simple rectangular plate and a bolted connections, and I am also providing a lacing to enhance the connection or to give a better strength to the connection. Similarly here double channel sections which are back to back facing a back of each other, and the tie plate is provided along with the lacing. These are the few of the arrangements of a lacing system. You can see the first one is a single laced beams. Single laced beams in the sense I am providing at a time a single lacing system. At any plane there will be only one layer of a lacing. If you see this is a lacing on face A and this is a lacing on face B. Suppose I have a column. On the front face of the column I will provide a lacing in this direction, whereas on the back face of the column I will provide the lacing in the opposite direction. So when I look it from the front as well as a back side, it will look like a zigzag type. This is the front face and this is a back face where the lacings are exactly opposite type. So the distribution of a load and load carrying capacity will be evenly distributed. Second type is a double laced system. Here even the front side will have two layers of a lacing, that is zigzag, and back side will also have 2 layers of lacing, another type of a zigzag. And the third type is a double laced and a single laced system combined with a cross members. Cross members in the sense, here you can see I have only provided the lacings. I have not provided any horizontal members, but here in these arrangements I am also providing a horizontal members. These are nothing but a cross members. So these all are all about a column section. Let us start with a junction of a beam and a column. So first type, there are 3 types of junctions or 3 types of joints between a beam and a column. One is flexible connection, second is a rigid connection, and third one is a semi-rigid connection. So let us start with the flexible type. In flexible connection, there will be a column. You are looking at the I section or H section, you can say. This is a flange thickness of one of the flange. This is another flange thickness, and this is a web of the column. You are looking from the front side, and this is a beam where this is one flange and this is another flange. Now if you see, this is the length of the beam, whereas this is the length of the column. So you can see flange in the vertical direction in the column and flange in the horizontal direction in the beam. Now let us concentrate on the connection type. Whenever a beam columns are joined in such a way that there is just a bolting which is provided just to join the beam with the column, but this type of a connection does not ensure whether the beam may rotate or may not rotate. So if I provide this type of a connection, there might be a chances that this beam can be moved in any rotational direction, and this connection is called as a flexible connection. Where if a beam column joint fails, then that failure will be because of a shear failure, and we also call it as a shear connection. Here you can see another example where there is a cleat angle, and this angle will be bolted here, and there are two, another one is seat angle and another is cleat angle. This is also called as a cleat angle, and this is also called as a cleat angle. So these two cleat angles restrict, seat angle and a cleat angle restrict the beam to move in a up and down direction, and this cleat angle restrict the movement of a beam in a front and a back direction. But these connection does not ensure that the beam cannot have a bending movement. This is another type of a connection. These all are a flexible type of connection. So here in this connection, the seat angle is extended type. We call it as seat angle, and this angle is provided with a filler plate. Filler plate is something which enhances the connection strength. So these all three types are the flexible type of a connection. Next one is a rigid connection. In rigid connection, a column and a beam are so strongly connected that a beam is not allowed to move in any of the direction. So you can see the first type here. There is a beam with a flange on top and flange on bottom, and there is a column where I'm connecting a beam with a column with a T or a angles here. You can see either you can provide a T here or you can provide an angle here, angle plate here, and this connection, when you look it from the top view, it looks something like this. This is the column which you can see as a I section. This is a beam, and the one which you are seeing here is a flange of the beam, top flange of the beam, and this T or a angle plate is visible here with a full dimension, and this is connected by a bolting. So because of this, there won't be any movement in up and down direction. Second one is where I am providing a backing bar. Backing bar in the sense, I'll provide additional a bar which will join the flange of the beam with the column, and this bar is you can see this is a a plate. This is a column section. This is a column section. This column is only half visible here. So column section is half. Then there is a beam section. You can see the top. From top view you can see the width of the flange. This is the width of the flange. And then there is a plate, and along with that plate there will be a backing bar. Third type is where I provide a finish T or a finish to bear T or a angle sections, and along with that I'll also provide a T section like this. So these are a rigid connection. Rigid connections are the ones which does not allow a beam to rotate or to have a movement in any direction, to rotate in any direction or to deflect in any direction. Third type is a combination of first and second type, where there will be some rigidity as well as some flexibility in the connection. So here I am providing a end plate connection. End plate in the sense beam section, which is a I section, will be provided with the end plate, which is a prefabricated type from it comes from a workshop, and that end plate is directly connected to the flange of the column. This is one type. And second type is a seat angle connection using a stiff medium size flange angles. So these are the flange angles I am providing here. So these are different types of connections. This is a table number 11, which gives effective length of a prismatic compression members, and this table is available in IS 800 2007 page number 45. This table gives you what is a relation between effective length and original or actual length. Suppose for a different end conditions or a boundary conditions, like one end is fixed, other end is free, effective length is 2 times the actual length. Say suppose this one, both the ends are fixed type, so effective length both the ends are fixed type. Effective length is 0.65 times of actual length. So this table is useful for calculation of for design of a column. And this is a table number 10, which gives us a buckling class of a cross section, which is available in IS 800 2007 page number 44. Here buckling classes are given like A, B, C and D, A, B, C and D, and these classes depend upon the limits which are given in this columns. And for a typical type of a section, say for rolled I section, welded I section, hollow sections, box sections, channel angle T or a solid sections, and a built up members. For different types of a section I can check these limits and I can decide which buckling class it belongs to. So in next class we will study about problem on columns. Thank you for the session.